Hello, everybody. Letting everybody pour in. I just opened this live up for the conversation with Miss Sasha Rosa, who will be joining us shortly. But until then, I just want to say hello to you all. These lives I know are very, very sporadic for me, but hello. I am looking forward to this discussion. I wish that there were more discussions like this when I had my diagnosis, and my intention is for it to be of great service, for you all. And it looks like Sasha is ready to join us. So we're going to bring her on Instagram. Sasha, are you also able to open up your Facebook as well, or no? If not, that's fine. Hey there.
Hi, how are you?
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Well. It's a little overcast in LA, giving us a little bit of a break from the sun, so that's good. It was just, we were cooking.
I'm all the way on the other side. I'm in Maryland.
Yes. How's the weather in Maryland?
It's pretty good. It's hot, but we're not gonna complain here because it's always cold. Most of the year is cold in Maryland, so okay. I'm enjoying the nice weather.
There we go. There we go. Well, we'll jump right into it. I know that a lot of you guys are here for the topic, fibroids. So I want to kick this thing off. First of all, I'm Nikki Lashae. I'm an actress and an advocate of many things. I have an organization called The Love Effect, and we serve people who are without homes or displaced or who are in transition. We've been going long and strong for about 7 years now. Started in Atlanta, Georgia, branched into Los Angeles. If you guys want to check out anything about the organization, it's called The Love Effect. You can look it up on YouTube. Website will be back up shortly. In the meantime, you can go to officialnikkilashae.com. And I'd like to, also, because of my own experience, I have recently joined the community of fibroid advocacy. So my mission is to help cultivate a sense of sisterhood and support, things that I feel would be in great service to women who are on their own fibroid journey, looking for solutions and looking for support. The mind, body, spirit journey is very significant, and finding solutions for yourself as a woman. So I just look forward to being a part of that experience and enhancing or making the world a better place for women seeking fibroid care. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I have connected with Sasha Rosa, who is, tell the world about you, please.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Sasha Rosa. I'm a holistic women wellness specialist. So what I do is I help women going through reproductive health issues, including fibroids, engage in healthy habits in order to heal. I'm really big on holistic healing. So I teach women, again, about the body, mind, and soul connection. So it's very important when we talk about shrinking and healing fibroids. And I've been able to help many women, eliminate, not just shrink their fibroids, but also eliminate their fibroids and, regulate their menstrual cycles, rebalance their hormones, restore balance back into their bodies, get rid of even endometriosis, cysts, PCOS, diabetes, lose significant amounts of weight, and literally the list goes on. A lot of people don't look at the body as something that's, all of these issues, all of these conditions as something that's connected, but all of them are connected in a way. And we tend to look at the body very separately. But I always say this, when it comes to fibroids, it's a full body issue. It is a symptom of a bigger issue occurring in the body. So and I went through my own fibroid journey. I actually got fibroids twice, not just once, but twice. Over a decade ago, I was first diagnosed and did not, know what I know now. Had not done much research on fibroids, because nobody in my family had fibroids. So it was really random. So, what I thought then, it was random. So then, after, studying about it over and over for years, unfortunately, I was scared into having surgery because I thought that that's what I had to do. So I had a myomectomy, and it ended up growing back very shortly after. That's because, like most women, that have myomectomies and they don't change their lifestyle, they end up growing back. So then at that point, I said, I'm not going through this again. I'm not having another myomectomy, because the first one was horrendous. It was horrible, and there was complications. It was a nightmare. So what I did was I embarked on the journey of fully just changing everything, my diet, my lifestyle, even to people that I engaged with. I completely changed. Like, I'm such a different person than I was before. So, and I eliminated my bad habits. Was it an overnight process? Absolutely not, but it was worth it. And my fibroids, I found out my fibroids shrunk, and then that motivated me to continue my journey, and then eventually they were gone. So, yes.
Mm. Okay, and you kind of segued into my first question, which was, what is your experience dealing with fibroids? But since you answered that, I see that that was your foundation in getting into caring for women who are on their respective fibroid journeys. So how did that cultivate your journey of seeking more expertise? Like, did you go the route of certifications? Did you go the route of studying with other practitioners? Like, how did you develop your vocabulary and your programs? Like, where did all that come from?
So it started with me really getting into like healthy eating. I went completely vegan, and it was a process too, but just me, I saw that it made such a difference in how I felt and even my menstrual cycles when I started seeing that, because there was one point when I got the fibroids again, I was, continuously bleeding for 3.5 months. So that's how I knew that the fibroids came back when I went to the doctor. So after that, the eating was the first part of it, because that's the hardest part for most people. And that was the hardest part for me. I lost weight, and then I just really started diving in, reading books, about holistic healing and fibroids. There was one book I read about fibroids that really just changed, everything. It was called Healing Fibroids. It's a really old book, but it's Healing Fibroids, and it's written by a doctor who was helping women get rid of fibroids naturally. So this information has been around for decades, unfortunately, but it's not, for most Black women have no clue that this information is out there. So really, not just even reading holistic healing books, from a fibroid sense or a uterine sense, reading, from a full body sense, like what foods heal the body, herbs, I read about all that stuff, and just really dived deep and really got into holistic healing. Was able to heal myself of too, not just fibroids, but other things that I was going through, anemia, high blood pressure, lost almost 60 pounds. So after, and helping my family members as well, who were going through some, some bigger issues, some not so big issues, things like that. So people would always ask me, like, what did you do to get rid of this? Or I would just hear people, having issues with their cycles, or just having issues with fibroids, or maybe they're off birth control, their body's just acting haywire, things like that. It started off at that, or helping people with weight loss. It started off with that, and then me just really diving deep in it. I got certified in plant-based nutrition, and I just went from there. And I just saw the need for all these women who were suffering with fibroids, PCOS, just other issues when it comes to the womb. And I just dived deep in there, and I was like, if I was able to heal myself and also help people around me, then I'm able to go deeper with this. And people was really crying out for help. So that's kind of how I got into what I'm doing now.
Okay. How, I know you deal with a large amount of clients from different walks of life, some who I assume who have tried to find solutions in other ways. What are some of the common things that have been shared with you as far as maybe women being frustrated with the solutions they have been offered, or if they have been able to find solutions at all from Western medicine or their own doctor's visits, or like what has been the revelation that has come to you from the client base that comes to you for help? Like what are some of their frustrations and experiences that when they come to you that they are now able to resolve?
So most of the clients that come to me are clients who have fibroids that's really impacting their life, and their doctor have told them either it's time to get a hysterectomy or a myomectomy. And those clients they're like, most of them are not trying to go the surgery route, maybe because of things they've heard, or just because it doesn't feel right to them. And just like me, it didn't feel right to me either, when I was going through surgery. It didn't feel right to me. I was like, there has to be another way. So that's kind of how they come to me. Maybe they see my content, or just how I've been able to help other women. And then we kind of go deeper in there. And then, so that's pretty much how the women that come to me. And I've been able to help women, not just even in the U.S. Also, I've had clients in Kenya and other places in the world too. So it's not even just the problem that we're encountering here. This is an issue that women all over the world are going through.
And have you seen, like, what's the ethnic background of most of the women that come to you?
Most are Black. Most of them are Black,
No matter what country, They still have, yeah. So,
For
so you
majority,
mentioned,
yes.
yeah. So you mentioned mind, body, spirit connection, and sometimes I wonder, because of the like historical context of the experience of Black people, how does that connect to fibroid tumors and why the suffering is greater and we get it younger? What's the mind, body, spirit connection with fibroids, do you
That's a
think?
great question, because a lot of Black people in general have gone through a lot of trauma, whether that's childhood trauma, whether that's just passed down to them, generational trauma, or, it could be fibroids also has a spiritual root as well. So a lot of times we're dealing with, when it comes to women with fibroids, the reason why they develop fibroids, maybe they had a really, stressful childhood or traumatic childhood. Maybe they, just hold a lot of resentment and anger because of something that happened to them in the past, sometimes even sexual trauma, like things that have happened to them. Or it could be like extreme amounts of stress, because a lot of Black women, especially nowadays, are under extreme amounts of stress. Unfortunately, there's a statistic out there that says 84% of Black women are the providers in their home, whether they're married or not married. So things such as
Wow.
that, yeah. So things like that, they build up. A lot of Black women were, for example, even second mothers to their own siblings. They had to take care of their siblings, and then also too now they're taking care of a family, and it's just so those things. You know what I mean. It's just the huge amounts of stress that have been placed on a lot of Black women's backs have really caused them to not really, like I said, connect. They're not connected to their bodies. Most women are not connected to their bodies. Most women don't even know when they're ovulating. That's an example. They're just so disconnected from their bodies. They don't understand, like, hey, what you're going through, like heavy cycles, cramps, these are hormonal imbalances. Most women, including myself back in the day, did not understand that this was a red flag. This means your body's out of balance, Your menstrual cycles are not supposed to be painful, they're not supposed to be long, they're not supposed to be, So we
Yeah.
don't even understand the first signs of something's going on with our bodies. We're not connected to our bodies. So that connection to your body is so important, and knowing when you need to rest, knowing when you're taking on too much. No, you know what I mean? A lot of women don't understand. They just go, 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 go.
What do you So there's a lot of missing information. Who's supposed to be telling us this? And I wonder, where did this lapse in connectivity occur? Did it, I could assume that maybe with the business of medicine, that there probably is not an interest in promoting people being very self-aware. But I do wonder, like, okay, so if when I was a teenager, your annuals were super, super important. They still are, but that's when, they start coming about, and they have a screening process for that. But then, I also, thinking back, there are certain conversations that, in my family, we just never had, and I don't think it was ever a concern. Like, me and my mother had a conversation. She never even thought to get screened for fibroids, or even thought to even consider it as a possibility for some things that she was going through, until I started working on my documentary, based on my own experiences, and really just with the intention of shedding light on the experiences of thousands of women who are being underserved when it comes to addressing their fibroid issues and symptoms. So where do you think the responsibility lies on getting educated about fibroids, and how can we start to turn the lead?
That's a great question. Because again, I wasn't taught these things too growing up, because our parents, they don't know, unfortunately. So it's the responsibility of the health professionals, of course, but unfortunately we know that when it comes to the business of medicine, it's not in the business of healing. So we have to be aware of that. Hey, they're not here to heal me. They're just here to, either through surgery, prescribe me birth control pills, which makes the situation worse, or, prescribe medicine. They're not here to heal. There's no doctor that has healed fibroids. There's no doctor that has healed diabetes or any other of these conditions, not even high blood pressure. They can't even get rid of it, and that's the easiest thing to get rid of. But anyway, there's no doctor that's doing that. So we have to really, unfortunately, seek the knowledge ourselves, or work with people in our community, such as myself or other people as well who are amazing at what they do, who have knowledge of holistic healing and that can help us actually formulate a plan. No doctor has ever told me, hey, this is a wellness plan for you to get rid of fibroids based on, a customized plan based on, you and your lifestyle. No doctor has ever told me that. That would have been super helpful, if I didn't have to, kind of experiment on myself and try to figure out how to get rid of these fibroids, And I was my own first client in a way. But yes, we have to unfortunately seek the knowledge out ourselves and know and trust that our body is very intelligent. And your body can heal anything, but you have to give it the right the right atmosphere for it to heal. Your body, if we're putting, processed foods, if we're highly stressed out, if we're not taking care of ourselves, how can our body even be in an environment to heal? It's just trying to survive at that point, Yeah. So we have to really seek the knowledge out, unfortunately, ourselves, because nobody's going to just, unfortunately.
Offer it up. Yeah, because of the world that we live in. I think that we live in a world and in a society where everything is about self-preservation, but even when it comes to like entities, respective entities such as our medical system. So if that's the case, and our doctors, and I got deeper into this as I was speaking with physicians, there's only a certain amount of time that they are allotted. So when you think about it, can they really develop a sincere care and consideration and genuine knowledge for how our bodies as an individual is the things that it's going through, and to really take an interest in the healing journey of that? I think that the speed in which humans, these humans that are doctors have been conditioned to handle other humans, i.e. patients, kind of has turned it into just a wheelhouse of money and how much money can be made each hour. And I think it's a domino effect that doesn't serve anybody, involved on any level. So not like people think it does. I think that because now we get into trust. So if people aren't healing and they're getting worse, or their symptoms or their issues are coming back or multiplying after seeing certain physicians, then how does that break down trust? And then does that in turn kill the very system in which we were working to build in order to heal people or make people better? So I think that that's a separate conversation, but an important one that sprouts from this dynamic, this very specific subject of, wound care, fibroids. So you said something earlier that struck my interest, and it'll come back to me, but yes, it was about kind of learning about yourself. And I want to share this with everybody. This conversation serves to be informative from one lane of expertise. We have our medical system, and there is value in that. We also have holistic practitioners, and there's a lot of value in that as well. And my intention is to offer a platform to expose people to people who work in certain concentrations so that they can connect with something that will work for them in their respective journeys. Sometimes going the Western medicine route is not helpful. I myself am very, earth, very nature, very holistic first. So I always believe, because it was around before modern medicine, that is the route to begin with. But I do think that there's some value in Western medicine. For instance, if I'm shot, I'm going to go to the hospital, obviously. So,
Absolutely.
Just to deal with that. Please don't put nuts and berries on my shotgun, okay? So just to let everybody know that this is not a discussion against anything. This is a discussion of expansion. So those who do join us, we do encourage you guys to ask questions if you do have them. Fibroids is something, again, I never even thought about. It was never discussed in my family. I was never screened for it. At my gynecologist, it was never a conversation with any of my physicians ever until I collapsed in a park from pain. And I had to be taken to the ER by ambulance.
Wow.
My situation, I had a ruptured cyst, and then the screening from that revealed that I had fibroids, but not just like regular fibroids, large fibroids. And so, I won't go too deep into that, but that is how I found out. And a lot of people are finding out just by happenstance.
Yeah.
So that means that a lot of people are walking around in life suffering and adapting pain as normal and adapting discomfort as normal. And it's not normal. And it's time that we continue to have conversations and ask questions and seek second opinions, and also allow ourselves to be informed of many options, because surgery is not an option for me. And I'll just share with our audience that that was the only option that was offered to me. Actually, the first option that was offered was a hysterectomy. And as I have been developing my documentary about this, my documentary, by the way, is called Medical Apartheid, War of the Womb. We are continuing to crowdfund around it. So if you guys are interested in supporting that conversation and amplifying the stage for it, please tap in with me directly. But the whole point of the documentary is to address why certain options aren't being offered to women when it comes to their wombs, because there is an aftermath of surgery that is often not discussed as well. It wasn't shared with me. And so if I had gone into surgery because I was afraid, not because I was making a decision that was right for me, but because I was ill-informed, and because I was making a decision because I was kind of I was just scared, and I felt like I didn't have any options, when the truth was that I did have other options. So we seek to just inform. The documentary seeks to inform. These conversations seek to inform. And if you guys have any questions about options, whether you are a woman on your fibroid journey or whether you just know a woman on your fibroid journey, we do encourage you to, like Ms. Sasha said, go seek knowledge, because not every doctor knows everything. And I think you have to come into these spaces informed as best as you can, so that you can ask questions and so that you can better identify if something doesn't sound right, and you can seek a second opinion. So that's the whole purpose and intention of these types of conversations, and inviting a holistic practitioner such as Sasha to give you another perspective to this healing journey that has served a lot of women. So with that being said, I want to ask you, Sasha, what have been some of the most harmful approaches to managing fibroids that you have learned? And then also give us the opposite side of that. What should people be doing instead of what they have been doing based upon misinformation in order to manage their fibroids?
That's a great question. I think probably the worst thing I've seen is hysterectomy, because we have to understand that a hysterectomy your uterus is not just important for having children, it's also a very important organ in the body. And it's been proven that your ovaries are even, connected to the brain. So to sit there and remove your whole uterus due to fibroids or heavy bleeding, which is an issue that, like I said, is just a symptom of a bigger issue. So a lot of women that have fibroids, they have a hormonal imbalance called estrogen dominance, right? That hormonal imbalance is not going anywhere just because you removed your uterus. And one thing about estrogen dominance is it causes not just fibroids, not just PCOS, so many other health issues in the body. I'm talking about from autoimmune disorders to even breast cancer, which is an estrogen dominant cancer, all these other issues. So women think that they're removing the issue by just removing their uterus, not knowing that, hey, a lot of women after hysterectomies get so many health issues, later on, because they have not got to the root cause of the problem. So the most harmful thing, I think, for treating fibroids is just focusing on the fibroids and not focus on what's causing these fibroids to develop in my body. That's, to me, where we go wrong.
So that's typical of our system, is to focus on the symptoms and not necessarily the root of that. So we always address, like for instance, I had eczema for a long time, but then in my as I began to learn more, I realized that it's an issue with the gut. It's not an issue with the skin. That's a symptom of that. So adjusting the diet, and then also get into some spiritual aspects of that. Like why, spiritually, what was my gut revealing, the condition of my gut revealing to me. And so, and that absolutely allowed my skin to heal, and I get a lot of compliments on my skin now. But so, so we have a question from Mind to Matter. Is there a holistic path for after fibroids have been removed via hysterectomy? So women who have gone ahead and gotten their uterus removed, is there a holistic, I guess, program or some holistic practices to implement into that woman's lifestyle to manage the aftermath of having that kind of surgery?
Yes, that's a great question. So even if you've had your uterus removed, I would still treat the patient the same way I would treat, like, for example, a fibroid patient, because at the end of the day, we're restoring balance in the body. So you still have to, and it's a little bit more tricky when you've had a hysterectomy, but, you know, still very doable. You have to restore balance. You have to get to the root cause of the problem. So we changed the diet, you know, the lifestyle practices, you know, also a lot of women, you know, they're dealing with a lot of past things, past trauma. So really healing that. And it's easier when you're on your healing journey and you're removing toxins from your body, right? You also, that does affect the mind as well. A lot of people don't realize that, right? So a lot of times when you're eating better foods, your mental clarity is so much better, you know, and you're able to heal not only on a, from the inside out, really. So I would treat this very similar, you know, as somebody that has fibroids, somebody that has a hormonal imbalance. And that person, because I've had a client too that's had a hysterectomy, that person will be able to still see, you know, numerous of benefits. Unfortunately, they don't have their womb anymore, but they're going to feel benefits in, like, if they have any other health issues, or if they have, you know, other, you know, issues with other organs, which a lot of women that had hysterectomies, they tend to have other health issues too. So they're going to see a significance even in their symptoms, because if we're removing our uterus, we're going to be dealing with hormonal imbalances. That's going to push us, you know, into menopause. So even symptoms dealing with that, they're able to see so much more relief and just feel better. So when you get your body to a point where it's in harmony, when you get your hormones in harmony, because your hormones affect every function in your body, your mind, body, soul, you feel so much better. Like, you think even better thoughts. It's just, you know, and most women never even experienced that. They've only experienced, like, the suffering side. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. So what you just said brings me back to another thing that you said earlier about basically how Black women are overworked, overtaxed.
Yes.
And so when I think about that, I was actually having this discussion with a couple of men as of late about how what men really appreciate in a woman is her femininity. But when you don't create space for us to thrive in it, you keep tapping our masculinity. And you think that you want, you know, us to show up in a provider capacity, but you disallow, you know, the nurturing, the caring, the other aspects of it. You shut that down because you're magnifying our masculinity and suppressing our femininity, which is not in alignment with our design, right?
Exactly.
And so I feel like Black women have been conditioned to survive, and we have normalized this life where we are just living to survive. And we also are severely mishandled by everybody, honestly.
Everybody.
And this is also like another discussion that we need to have, is like, how do we better handle and better honor Black women in every space available, even in personal spaces where where our resiliency is not mistaken for just having to accept subpar behavior or hostile behavior, or having to show up in capacities that are not innate to our feminine design. Excuse me, my dog is wanting my attention. Stop, please.
It's okay.
And so I think that for me personally, as I continue to learn more about this fibroid journey, and even as I make connections of my own, even as I make connections of my own with my healing and the growth of fibroid tumors, I feel like that has been a true assessment of my own journey as a woman, like how I had to grow up, and how I was having to survive in relationship dynamics, and how's having to show up in life just to be respected and taken seriously, or even that, just really to be treated with respect. How I have to show up in order to get it instead of just getting it by virtue, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I think that for Black women, it's a very different thing. And so anyway, these are discussions that I believe that we have to continue to have, because they're not happening at all, really. And so I think it takes continuing to have these for people's minds to open up to accept, hey, maybe if we shift the dynamics a little bit, we can help heal our women, we can help heal our relationships, we can help heal ourselves. Because I think that there's the divinity in the man as well that shows up better, in that regard. So, gosh, there's so many places that we can go with this. Okay, here's a question, and I didn't think about this until now, but do you think that in your studies, right, from this holistic standpoint, when did fibroids really start happening? Has it always been something that has occurred? Did it kind of happen in the last 100 years? And do you tie that into things like how society has shifted? Talk about that a little bit.
It started, I would say, probably 80s. Now it really got an issue in the 90s. So I think as processed foods just became more popular, people started getting a lot bigger, physically, just our weight. Because Black women, if you look at Black women on average 50 years ago, we weren't as big as we are now. Like it just that, and the stress of having to, like, for Black women having to be providers, because most Black women are the providers in their family, even if they're married. That, and just not taking care of yourself, again, going away from the holistic healing and just diving only into Western medicine, which I would not I would not recommend that for anybody. So kind of going away from that, not taking care of themselves, not even eating nutrient rich foods, and just focusing on fast food, which is and processed food, which is, again, to our own detriment. And you see our weight, not even just fibroids, our health in general has been deteriorating for decades now. So that it's gotten worse. And now we're even hearing teenage girls are developing fibroids at 15. 25% of Black women, I think from the ages of 15 to 25 had fibroids. So now we're even dealing with teenagers with fibroids now.
When you were diagnosed, you first went to a medical doctor?
Yes, because I just knew that something wasn't right. I was having like a lot heavy bleeding. And I was like, I had it for years, but it started getting really out of hand. So that's why I was like, that's when I went to get a checkup, and the OBGYN said, well, I feel something. It could be a fetus or a fibroid. Let's get you checked out. That's when I had my ultrasound, and that's how it was discovered. But all those times I went to the doctor, they never checked for that. So they don't check for that. Unfortunately, that's why a lot of women are walking around with fibroids and have no clue. Most women don't find out until they're pregnant and they've had an ultrasound.
I had a conversation with a physician, and I asked them, I said, are screening something that can be implemented in the pap smears? It seems like they start growing when we're young, right? But we don't really find out until they're so big and they're having adverse effects on our organs, and we're having all these like really life-altering symptoms. So is there a way that we can learn about them so that we can manage them beforehand? If they're a smaller size, then perhaps we can make some lifestyle adjustments to support the shrinking, or at least stop feeding it going forward. And I would say the answer wasn't in favor of that, but I wanted to ask you, like, how do you think catching it early could serve women? And what age range do you think would be appropriate to screen for it?
That's a great question. I think that definitely if a young girl, like, for example, because when young girls get their periods now, it's super early. So if they're getting their period super early, they're dealing with, heavy bleeding and painful cycles, they should automatically screen for that. They should. because that's the first sign of estrogen dominance, which again can causes fibroids to develop. If your daughter is going through, you know, painful cramps and, you know, headaches during her cycle, and she's throwing up during her cycle, that is not normal, and we have to treat that like a hormonal imbalance. As a matter of fact, I did a post a few months ago where I was telling women with young daughters, hey, if your daughter has had gets her cycle before the age of, I would say, like 14, that's a red flag. That's a sign of estrogen dominance. And most Black little girls get their period, what, 8, 9, 10, 11? So that's
I got mine at 9.
you
Yeah.
see, and
9.
most people that develop fibroids or any other reproductive health issue, they had early cycles. Like mine was like, I was like 12 and a half, which is still kind of early, which is still early. So that is one thing. So I tell women with little girls, hey, with daughters, hey, if your daughter gets her cycle before, I would say 14, that's a sign. That's the first sign of estrogen dominance. Back in the day, you know, your grandmother, they got a period maybe 15, 16, 17. Like that's normal. Getting your period at 10, 11, that's not normal. So I tell that, and one lady contacted me. She was like, I saw your post. I saw you when you made that post. And she had a daughter that was about, I think, around 10 or 11 that got her period early. And she was telling me she started noticing her daughter was having, you know, other like little health issues, like, you know, her bowel movements were very strange colors. She was going through other things. So these are her first signs of hormonal imbalance. Again, it's a full body issue. So she started adjusting her diet, adjusting her habits, and she saw a huge improvement in her cycles and also a huge improvement in her health. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And you mentioned estrogen dominance. Where does that even come from? Like, how are we even in a position to where our hormones are that severely imbalanced?
As women,
what is happening to us?
As women, we're ruled by our hormones, right? It's very easy, unfortunately, for us to become unbalanced. And if we go down that road and your hormones are continuously imbalanced, you're not doing anything about it to get them back into balance, it just gets worse and worse. So when we talk about like a little girl, for example, this could have been passed on from her mother. You know, we don't know how her mother was eating during pregnancy, or just, you know, the genes. It could be passed on from her mother. And also too, we know kids are eating junk food all day and processed foods all day, right? Unfortunately, they're being fed that. So that's another thing as well. It wasn't so much, you know, back in the day, kids were still eating fruits and vegetables, even though they were still eating, you know, junk food. But now kids are just eating straight up. The foods are just so detrimental to our health. Kids are getting these health issues earlier. You even hear people in high school coming down with diabetes and all these other health issues that they should not be coming up with, you know, at such a young age. So things are really changing, and we have to adapt to that. And you have to start watching the foods that your children are eating. Like you cannot just feed them McDonald's all day because it's easy, right? So, yeah.
To those who just joined us, thank you guys in the Facebook world and in the Instagram world. I'm Nikki Lashae. I'm speaking with a holistic practitioner, Sasha Rosa. She is sharing with us, well, this whole conversation is centered around fibroids, as we are both advocates in our respective spaces. I have a documentary that I am working on to shed more light, to amplify the voices of women who are experiencing hardships along their journey. And this conversation is to just open up the discussion. Let's make it more expansive. Let's learn about various methods to better manage our systems, and even find our fibroid symptoms, and even find solutions to get to the root cause of it. Let's better understand our bodies. Let's promote knowing ourselves better and not putting 100% reliance on doctors, because the truth is that they're in a system, they're in an infrastructure that is run on business, and we can't put the totality of our lives in the hands of others. We have to take responsibility of that. At least that's what I promote: knowing yourself, being very self-aware, deepening your knowledge and your love of your body, so that you can know what's going on, so that you can seek a second opinion, so that you can honor your intuition when a recommendation for surgery does not seem right. Me personally, hysterectomy was recommended, and then after adamantly saying no, it was a myomectomy as my only option. And I waited a year before another solution came up for me. I believe that I would have regretted it if I went forward with that surgery. And but there are so many women who are entering decisions because they are afraid and because they don't feel like they have any other options. And so we want to present another option to try. holistic, a holistic approach. Sasha Rosa has various programs that she does offer. Could you also share a little bit about your services and different programs that you do offer to women?
Absolutely. So I offer to women, the one thing I do have where I work with women for 3 months is called my Detoxify Your Womb program. This is where I literally work with you for 3 months and really establishing and really getting to the center, the root cause of your fibroids, and really restoring balance in your body and balancing your hormones so we can get to the point where your fibroids are shrinking. We're starting off those fibroids. So it takes a series of us detoxifying the organs, because if we have fibroids, that means we have a lot of clogged up, we have a lot of toxicity in the body, a lot of toxins in the body. So we're detoxifying that stuff. We're really flooding your body with nutrients, and I'm teaching you how to do that and getting to the center, again, the root cause. And I take an analysis of, like, my clients, their lifestyle habits, their diet habits, their schedules, things such as that, the responsibilities. And then I really help them with a plan and actually help them along the journey as well. So it's an amazing program, and women in there have done amazing. And I also offer, again, as well, for people that they don't want to, they may not necessarily want to work with somebody, but they want to know the information. I have self-study courses available for those women as well. They can take it at their own pace. So I kind of have those options. I also have things where I help women, again, who are struggling with, infertility as well. So that's another thing that I do as well, for help women who are struggling with infertility and other issues dealing with the womb, PCOS. Even I've helped 2 people now get rid of diabetes, type 2. And so many other health issues. So yeah, all of these things are connected. Even though we don't see it as that, they're all connected.
Wonderful. We have a couple of questions. Let's see. Okay, so the EMP says, what if you are a holistic focused man and you cannot get your woman to listen to you about holistic ways?
It's a great question. Such a great question. Because that's something too that on the other side that I deal with. So with men, but I would say this: you wanna get somebody, if you're talking about dating or being with somebody, you want to get somebody that's aligned to you and aligned to your values. Now, I'm not saying that she has to be 100% just like you, but at least somebody that's willing to listen, somebody that's willing to experiment with some holistic ways, improve their diet. They're not just gonna say, no, it doesn't work, I'm just going Western medicine way, because that person could be a liability. Because let's say you marry that person, you're gonna have to, and they develop things like fibroids and painful periods, and you're gonna have to take care of that person. Who knows if you guys have children? She's putting her children at risk as well. So if they're not taking care of themselves, then for me, I just want to be with the person. They're not aligned to you and your values. Period.
Yeah. So alignment. I would say, if you're already in a relationship with that person, then that means that you have to accept them where they are. And so that means your differences as well. And so I think that the only thing you can do is continue to uplift her from the space that you are in, and continue to lead by example, and continue to do things like offer up things from that space of knowledge. Maybe you offer to cook or to buy groceries or to go out to dine at places that support, where she is along her fibroid journey instead of aggravate it. I think that those are very valuable ways that as a man you can lead and love a woman that is in that journey, because it's difficult. I mean, I can imagine that she also doesn't want to be judged on that journey as well. And I can also understand that there is a mental and emotional, battle while she's going through this as well, which sometimes leads to desperation, desperate for something that seems like it works. And a lot of people just desperately cling to doctors because from our conditioning, they know everything. It's not necessarily the case. When I was a wellness trainer, I actually trained doctors on nutrition, and on their bodies and knowing their bodies and how it works in cohesion, and creating programs for them to balance their mind, body, and spirit so they can achieve, a better quality of life. And so I would make it general instead of specific, as a man, how can you show up in love and in respect to her as a woman, because she's the one dealing with it, right? But since you've already chose somebody that you guys may have contrasting core values, then maybe how can you show up in a more supportive space instead of maybe telling her that what she's doing is wrong, you know? So I think that I'm always going to promote leading with love. So that's my suggestion with that. We have another question from ATL Wood Black Ice. Hello, hello, brother. Do you feel that the medical industry puts enough spotlight on fibroid marketing nationwide via advertising dollars put forth for consumer education? So do we talk about fibroid awareness as much as we talk about consumer education? I want to make sure I understand that correct. To me, if I understand that correctly, you're just talking about consumer marketing, very specified, money generating type marketing, like intentionally guiding people toward a certain medication or toward a certain store or a certain new product that's out in the market, versus actually having marketing dollars put forth toward things that educate people toward a better way of life. I guess the short and obvious answer from my side is no. You know, this is why we're having a discussion like this, the first of many, because a lot of us don't even hear about this until we're in our 30s. You know, and we have been suffering for like 15 years, don't even know it, don't even know why. So I think when it comes down to educating a person, when you educate somebody, you empower them as well. And I think the larger question is are we in a society that seeks to empower? And so underneath that, then it becomes, well, whose responsibility is it? So I think that we have to make sure that we're not, we have to make sure that we are self-reliant people primarily. And so I know that I took the time to research. I took the time to actually took time, you know, to just chill and rest and love on my body a little bit more during that time as I was opening up to solutions. It was very traumatic, you know, going through what I went through and having to heal from that, and also learning about it, and then the way I was handled when I learned about it. And then just there's a certain it hits you in a way. It's hard to describe, but when somebody tells you, like, I've waited to have children until I find the right person, but when somebody tells you, oh, just get a hysterectomy, just so casually, and there's really no just reason for that, like there's no other nothing else going on, nothing cancer, like nothing to really justify that in a younger person, it does make you feel away just as a human being. And I think it does play in your sense of self-worth, you know, on a deeper level, you know, the way you're handled, not as a divine vessel that creates life, but hey, you know, let's do surgery, we'll cut you open and this, that, and the other.
It's horrible.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So like there should be more legislation, there should be more marketing dollars put behind educational aspects. There should be more programs that offer support for women who are going through these journeys, because their physical bodies are suffering, but it has a domino effect on every area of life, their intimacy with their partner. So a lot of women's partners aren't even supportive. A lot of women are being abandoned by their partners, you know, when they're going through many things, but specifically fibroids, yes. Women are being abandoned by that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they're able to mother, if they're able to even show up in their careers, like everything is being affected. But then a lot of these women are also being judged as a result, and not being understood because people aren't educated on it. And so the education also needs to extend beyond the woman who is dealing with it. It needs to extend to the community, so that the community can show up with more sensitivity and understanding. What are your thoughts, Sasha?
I totally agree. And I love how you said that it doesn't just affect you, it affects everybody around you. I know when I was going through my journey, I had a very supportive partner because his mother had dealt with her, you know, her own share of fibroids. So he was very supportive. However, my job at the time was not supportive. They just, you know, they were, you know, I had to take the days off, like 3 weeks off because of my surgery. They were, you know, acting like they couldn't understand why I had to take so long off. So it was really horrible. There were times I had to take off work because of the period. My periods was so horrible due to the fibroids. They didn't understand that. You know, I was told by one of my supervisors, "You're taking off just because you're on your period?" Like, what? Yeah. So dealing with that, like I couldn't show up in the world as myself fully because I was dealing with that. And then let's talk about the anemia that was involved as well. I didn't have energy to do anything. You know, I had to plan vacations around my cycle, things like that. Like, it really disrupts your quality of life. And I always say this, men need to be concerned. I'm happy men are on here. Men need to be concerned about fibroids too. If it affects 80 to 90% of Black women, most Black women have fibroids. You guys, it also affects men as well because, again, you know, whether it's their sisters, their mothers, you know, their daughters, their wives, you know, their girlfriends. So this is something men too need to learn about as well. And more information, more awareness needs to be put out there. We shouldn't just hear, hey, get a hysterectomy. I feel like that should be illegal. And it's been proven that 90% of hysterectomies are unnecessary. That are done are completely unnecessary. You know, so that's my
very good. We have about 5 minutes. It's so interesting, these conversations, when they really get going, like we have to.
I know.
But we have about 5 more minutes. We're going to keep talking. If you guys have any more questions you want to get in before we dip out, please feel free to ask. And thank you to everybody for being engaged during this discussion. It's a very important discussion. I aim to do things that have a positive impact you know, on other people. And thank you, Sasha, for the work that you're doing, you know, because you didn't have to go into this space, but thank you for the work that you're doing for us women so that we can cultivate a better relationship with ourselves and heal things that, you know, is ours and is not ours. You know, we can become more self-aware about that and begin to reverse some things. You know what? I do want to ask, when these surgeries happen, I noticed that the aftermath of it isn't often explained. Like, a lot of times when surgeries is recommended, they just kind of act like, oh, well, it fixes it. But from my understanding, like, there's a whole new like existence after that you have to adjust to, or there's a whole new way that you're affected post-surgery, you know, that maybe if people were aware of, they would probably be slower to get surgery. What are some of those things?
Oh, that's such a great question because to this day, I regret having that surgery. So some of the things, of course, the healing period, I had to I couldn't walk for like 5 days afterwards. Like, I didn't know. They made it seem like it would be so easy. Oh yeah, just take it and your problems will be solved. Let's talk about, okay, not just the healing portion of it. Let's talk about getting fibroids again. So imagine, you know, how upset I was, how depressed I was when I just went through surgery to get rid of fibroids, and then a few months later have developed another fibroid. Like, that's so traumatic. And many women, because I talked to a lot of women, have gone through that, where they literally had surgery. I've known women that had 3 myomectomies, 3, and they just keep coming back. They're gonna keep coming back until you get to the root cause of the problem. So it's horrendous. And a lot of women are dealing with fibroids and endometriosis at the same time, you know, because fibroids, very seldomly does it come alone. It usually comes with other issues. You know, it could be gut health issues. It could be, you know, so many different issues, you know. So it's a very traumatic experience. It's not just, we're not just dealing with surgery. We're dealing with the aftermath of surgery. We're dealing with, you know, developing these things again, because especially Black women, you know, when they have surgery, they just like 2 to 3 more times likely to develop fibroids again. So it's you know, and don't even let me mention a hysterectomy, where a lot of women get depressed after having a hysterectomy, you know, because they feel like they lost their womanhood. You know, that's a whole another thing. But yes.
Is it a hormone? Do you think that because that also affects your hormones permanently, right?
Yes.
Do you think that chemical imbalance also fuels women into like these depressive states, or like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because remember, we're putting women into early menopause when we take out their uterus. So of course, they call it like, okay, the woman is depressed because she's lost her the hysterectomy, but it's also a hormonal thing as well. She lost her womanhood, but it's a hormonal thing as well. Your hormones are knocked out of balance when you take out your whole uterus. You know, that is not a treatment plan for fibroids. That is ridiculous. It should not be a treatment plan for fibroids at all. Maybe cancer, maybe something more, you know, that's more serious, but not fibroids. Not saying that fibroids are not serious, because they definitely are. But there's natural ways to heal fibroids. There's natural ways to get rid of fibroids. And we have to really embrace that, and we have to put that awareness out more so than having surgeries.
Yeah,
you know,
you're saying that the surgery should not be a first solution for everything. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
And fibroids is not a condition that makes surgery an absolute necessity. And so we have to be able to entertain other options and be slower to allow ourselves to be cut open and for parts to be removed when it's not necessary for us, because it does have like adverse reactions, and it does throw our bodies out of balance, especially when it have you seen cases where it actually makes the woman worse?
Yes, I've heard of. I didn't even mention uterine scarring. So if you when you have myomectomies, when you surgically cut into your uterus, you there's a huge risk of uterine scarring, and that uterine scarring sometimes can prevent you from having children in the future. So that's another thing too. Yeah, uterine scar. That's another thing when you cut into your uterus. So a lot of people don't heal from that, and they still have that scar tissue, in the cavity of the uterus. So yeah.
Wow, wow. Man, there's like as we talk, then there's just more like we need to have just continuous like panel discussions about these types of things. And we will. I look forward to talking to you more about this topic and continuing to give people the space to feel support and to get a little information and to also know that you are one of the resources that people have to come to for education and for a level of healing and for management. So please tap in with Sasha. Her information is on her page, but she will tell it to you now so you can reach out to her.
If you're watching this from Instagram, you can just follow me. You can go to the link in my bio, subscribe to my email list, and you get a free training on fibroids and estrogen dominance, okay? So in your email, once you subscribe. So if you're watching me from Facebook, also too, you just go to the link in my bio, click on that. You'll see where to subscribe to my email list. And again, you'll get a free training of fibroids and learn more about it. There's women that literally been following me for years, and they just find out, hey, I went to the doctor, just found out I have fibroids, and now they know they don't feel so like depressed, like they don't know what to do. They know like what to do now because they've been following me, or maybe they've taken one of my services or anything like that. So being proactive is so important, especially when you're dealing with something that affects so many women, because maybe it's not you, but it could be your sisters, it could be your daughter, it could be, you never know. So
Yes.
yeah.
So before we go, can you leave us with 3 tips? And it could be for anybody. It could be for the woman that's on her fibroid journey, or it could be for the community around that woman. Leave us with like 3 parting words that'll help us make better decisions for ourselves and those that we love.
Okay. So 3 tips, you said. Okay. So I'm going to say you want to really reevaluate like everything in your life, like whether it's your job and whether it's, your healing journey as far as, healing from traumas, whether it's the foods that you're eating, the stress levels. You have to really take an assessment of that to make sure that, that's in alignment with you wanting to achieve good health. So if you find out you have fibroids, don't panic, okay? But you want to really take an assessment of your lifestyle, your diet habits, and be real with yourself as well, okay? And also, too, you want to, as women, I always say this too, this is for all women, you have to align with your cycle. So and really learn your menstrual cycle, because we have a 28-day menstrual cycle, right? So you want to learn about the phases of that, and also too, you want to just know and follow the phases of that. For example, you don't want to overwork yourself when you're on your cycle. For example, when you're in menstruation phase, you don't want to overwork yourself. You don't want to overwork yourself when you're in the luteal phase. So things such as that, women have to learn that because a lot of women are overworking themselves and thinking that they're like men and they can be super productive every single day, right? So, but we have to learn how to, when to rest, when it's time to rest, when it's time to actually, be more productive and things like that. So really make sure that you're more in tune with your menstrual cycle and also more in tune with your body in general. Knowing, if you, we have to tap more back into our intuition and knowing when it's time to rest, when it's time for us to take a break and really honor that. And honestly, number 3 is going to be, we have to be very careful when it comes to, I don't want to say very careful, but we have to just be more knowledgeable about this before we choose, our partners, our future husbands, because if they don't understand that, women are different than men and they can't be productive every day of the, every single day of the week, and that they're hormonally totally different, maybe you should think twice before you be with that man. I only date men that actually understand that women are different. Women do need times of rest. Women, and that I date men who are providers, who also, you know what I mean? So it's just, you don't want to go down that rabbit hole where you're dating, where you are the provider and everything is on your back, because that, like I said, 84% of women, Black women, are providers in their homes, and you see it's not serving them. So we have to really think twice on this whole masculine feminine dynamic thing. So yeah.
Yes. So make sure all your choices in life, partner,
Yes.
work, support your health. Your
Yes.
health and how you want to show up in the world, and enables you to love yourself better and to take care of yourself. Thank you guys. That is our time. Thank you, Sasha, so much. Y'all go check her out. Start the relationship. Start relationships with people who are knowledgeable, so that you can get some of that knowledge as well. And thank you guys for joining in on this conversation. There'll be more to come. This is Nikki Lashae signing out.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.